Very good morning to all of you. Professor Rao, Professor B.J. Rao, and all the colleagues who have joined today in this meeting. My namaskars to all of you. Just before coming here, Professor Rao and his team, they took me around the facilities of Aspire. I met many young people who are running different kinds of startup companies focusing on very important products and the kind of facilities that are made available here for common usage by all these startup companies and also the students and faculty of this university. This facility looked like any other international facility with the state-of-art equipment being made available. I think it's a remarkable achievement by University of Hyderabad, and my congratulations to the leadership of the university, the faculty members, the students, and all those startup companies which are part of this aspirational journey of the university. Let me put my thoughts in the correct perspective. Today, there is a need for looking at the convergence of knowledge, technology, and values. If you look at what is happening globally, there is geopolitical instability across the globe. There are issues related to wars. We have issues related to terrorism and rising inequalities across the globe, unstable economic systems, and you have challenges of extreme poverty, multidimensional poverty, and we are struggling to keep the average global temperature below 1.5 degrees centigrade rise as compared to the pre-industrial era. And these are all challenges that we are facing. And India is not immune to it because these are all global challenges. But India is also home to nearly 20% of the global population. So how we address these challenges, what kind of solutions we will design, will also be of interest to the rest of the world. So one example is the kind of things that are being done in our university system. Taking University of Hyderabad as an example. How we want to innovate in science and technology to find solutions to some of these challenges. So, in that context, it is not unrealistic if I pose a question to you. How can we realize the future that we all want, which is sustainable, healthy, peaceful, and secure? And this is a question that all of us are trying to address across the globe, including our country. A lot of research is being done and you will find a lot of information in research papers, in policy documents, and so on. But from time to time, in gatherings like this, when scientists, faculty members, students, industry representatives join together, it is important for us once in a while to look at some of these issues, brainstorm, and assess ourselves where we are going, how far we are away from this idea of realizing the future that we want, which is sustainable, healthy, secure, and peaceful. So, my dear friends, therefore, I would like to touch upon a few issues. There are many, many complex issues, but I would like to touch upon few issues for our consideration. We know that when we talk about sustainability, it is decided by a very complex interaction among few parameters. And this is population growth and the growing human needs, the societal and cultural values, the human-built environments, such as the mega cities that we are building, and then the Earth system's boundaries. There is a complex interaction among these four parameters. And that is what creating the kind of challenges that we are seeing today across the globe. If I take the last point first, the Earth system's boundaries, nobody knows how much population this Earth can sustain. People thought initially that the population growth is so much, we will not be able to produce for all this population to sustain. But then there are so many technological interventions, and we are able to produce to meet the needs of the current population, disproving the initial assumptions. But however, all our human activities are also pushing us to break the Earth system's limits. Among several parameters, I will take the example of 3 parameters. How much carbon dioxide, ppm, particles per million by volume, can the atmosphere bear? The typical limit is 350 ppm by volume, but we have far crossed that limit. We are pumping carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. Biodiversity is very important for us. How many species per million per year can we lose? Typically 10. Then the biodiversity can be sustained, even if we are losing about 10 species per million per year. But today we are losing more than 200, 300 species per million per year, far beyond the Earth's system boundaries. And we do use a lot of nitrogen, which is extracted from the atmosphere. How many million tons per year can we extract? Million tons of nitrogen from the atmosphere. At best, 35 million tons per year we can extract from the atmosphere. But today, we have crossed that by almost an order of magnitude. So you can see that our human activities are pushing us to go beyond the limits that the Earth system can sustain. This is the reason why I also mentioned that whenever we talk about scientific innovations, which is driven by the knowledge creation, it should also be seen together with the societal values. That is why I said, let us not look at the solutions in isolation. Let us look at the convergence of the knowledge that we are creating and the technological innovations that are coming out of this knowledge and the societal values. There has to be a convergence among all these three. So let us look at the other parameters. The population growth and the human needs. One of the interesting things that happened, if you look at the population growth across the globe, in olden days, 100 years ago, for example, we had to produce more kids per family, 10 kids, 12 kids, because the mortality rate was very high. Out of these 10, 12 kids, maybe 1 or 2 will survive and take the humanity forward. But then, with the medical advancements, technological advancements, as the mortality rate of kids came down, more kids started surviving, we started producing lesser kids. The fertility rates also started going down. And there is a kind of balance. But now, with better medical facilities available, with better living conditions, the lifespan of the people also is increasing. So now we have low fertility in many advanced countries, rich countries such as South Korea. The fertility rate is below 1, even in Singapore. In India, we are just about matching the replacement rate, 2.1. So there is a population stability in our country. But in many other poor countries, we also have a problem of higher fertility, more than 5, 6. So you see that the fertility rates are non-even across the globe. And this is causing another major problem. So how do you achieve population stability, and how do you ensure that the population growth doesn't explode so that it becomes impossible for the earth to sustain them? One of the things that we must definitely look at as a top priority is that globally the prosperity has to be uniform. We cannot have a situation where some countries are very rich, some countries are very poor. And the same thing applies within our own society also. We need to have uniform prosperity. We need to make sure that every component of the society, irrespective of their socio-economic background, they participate equally in the economic growth of our country. And unfortunately today, the way we are building our economic systems, they have become too competitive. Take the simple example of people focusing more on their careers rather than on life-work balance. Today, people postpone their marriages, postpone having kids, because there are so many pressures from the work. If they focus on family, then the career growth will get affected, and that is the perception that we have. And in the process, what is happening is that we have become too competitive. We need to look at, as a society, in building a cooperative economy, especially because a large number of people who are living longer, they come out of their professions even when they are hale and healthy, at 60, 62 and so on, and people are healthy. And even if some of them are not healthy, let's say I have developed arthritis, I cannot climb up the steps. But can we design our work in such a way that even those people can continue to contribute to the economic growth and prosperity of our country? We need to very seriously look at these issues. The other challenge that we have in front of us, which we all must take very seriously, is the gender fairness. The development that we would like to see in our country, it should be women development, women-led development. In other words, when we are talking about scientific and technological innovations, it is important that we see more and more women contributing in scientific and technological innovations and in all other domains, be it social sciences, be it politics, be it administration, governance. We need to have more women leading the development in our country. So when I talk about gender fairness, for example, if a woman takes time off for performing one of the important reproductive responsibilities, and when the woman comes back after an year, will she have the same career growth like her male parts? Will it affect her? These are issues that we need to look at. When women are performing such an important task of reproduction, which is essential for humanity, we must consider that as an important aspect of our life. We must celebrate. We must ensure that women are fairly treated at the workplace. That is why I am talking about knowledge, technology, and the values that the society must develop. Friends, another important thing as scientists, all of us, when we have so many startup companies coming in this university, and we are trying to develop technologies which are affordable, which are environmental friendly, when we want to do this, we also have to look at some of the other challenges that we are facing. Because of the population growth, because of the increasing human needs, there is an increasing demand for clean energy, clean water, food, and most importantly, most of us, it doesn't cross our attention, we don't pay much attention, is the need for materials, the ability to produce those materials within our own country. For manufacturing, we require many materials. Can we produce those materials ourselves? The cell phones that you are using, each chip in the cell phone, it requires a minimum of 70 rare earth metals. And if those supplies are cut down, we cannot have the chip manufacturing. And that will have, down the line, various manufacturing processes getting affected, because today everything is electronics controlled. So how are we going to make sure that we will have sustainability of energy, water, food? And as scientists, engineers, and social scientists and policy makers, we must have a comprehensive view. Often we tend to think in silos. I saw a beautiful canteen there upstairs where the startup companies, young scientists and engineers can meet there informally, talk to each other, and the ideas can flow from one company to the other company, one person to the other company. That is how new ideas are generated. I think we need to relook at the way we have been working in silos and take a comprehensive view of many of the challenges that we are facing. Now, if you look at the energy, the amount of energy that people used to consume, if you turn the clock back by about 500 years, it was very small. But today, we consume thousands of times more energy than those people, and we cannot claim that we are any more happier than those people who lived 500 years ago. Our lives have become too stressed, too self-centered, and too many challenges to face. So how do you produce this energy which is required for all our needs? You are seeing these lights. Out of all the electricity that is generated on Earth, 50% of the electricity is used for moving objects. Your lift, fridge, electric trains, and the motors used by farmers for pumping water. And these are very inefficient mechanisms. 20% of electricity is used for lighting, and the remaining for other industrial applications and so on. And today, our dependency on fossil fuels is tremendous. The liquid fuels is at the top of the chart, petrol, diesel, and so on. And then the solid fuels such as coal, that is also the second largest material used by human beings for generating energy. And then you have the gas sources such as LPG, which is supposed to be cleanest among all the fossil fuels. And then you have the non-renewable energy resources, and then the nuclear energy, and so on. By 2050, our energy requirements are going to increase by 40%. And our emissions, carbon emissions, are going to increase because of the increased use of these fossil fuels to generate energy. So what solutions can we find? And another important thing is that for most of our applications, although they can be run on DC, we generate AC, transmit it over several hundreds of kilometers, during which a lot of it is lost, and then we bring it home, convert that AC to DC, which is an inefficient process, and run our machines. So can we generate this power just on our rooftops in DC form itself and directly connect it so that there are no transmission losses, there is no damage done to the environment? These are things that we need to look at. And water is going to be the biggest challenge for all of us. As scientists, we will stare at this challenge, because India has only 4% of the global clean water supply. And out of this 4%, we use nearly 80% of it is used for agriculture, and the remaining for domestic and other applications. So as scientists, we have a great responsibility to tackle the problem of water, because most of the water that we use, it is returned back to the sewage system, and it contains very heavy toxic materials. And we need better technologies to clean up this water and reuse this water. The other problem with water is that often we think energy and water as two separate entities. When you want to generate energy, let's say using coal, you require water there, millions of liters of water there. And similarly, to clean water and then to supply it from point A to point B, you require energy. So these are two interlinked ones. And the other one is the food, which comes from the agriculture. In our country, we have a couple of challenges when it comes to the agriculture and the food. One, majority of our farmers are small land owners, 1 acre, 2 acre, 3 acre, and so on. And majority of the farmers, they are focused on 3 crops: rice, sugarcane, and wheat. So as scientists and as social scientists, it is important for us to see how we can have more output per acreage in our country by coming up with better solutions. For example, can we use the geospatial data that we are generating? We are leaders in space technology today. We have so many satellites. We are generating so much of data. Today we have technologies to monitor every acre of land. What is the input going there? What is the output coming out? And then you can come up with policy interventions to increase the output per acre. And this is called precision agriculture. And the dependence of our farmers on 3 crops is also a challenge for us, because if you are dependent on fewer crops, a famine or pest attack can destroy everything and affect seriously the conditions of the farmers. So how do we motivate the farmers come up with solutions so that they can diversify their crop production? Just as when you build your financial portfolio, you put your earnings in different instruments. A similar thing has to be done to protect the farmers also. Friends, today we talk about food security, but we do not have proper food storage mechanisms. You might have seen recently in the newspapers that the government has decided to build the world's largest food storage facility in India. And that is what we need to do. We are producing enormous amounts of food to take care of our needs, and unless we efficiently store this food, then we are going to have a challenge. And I have seen many of the startup companies when I moved around the Aspire facility, they also deal with health. Healthcare is another challenge that we have, and the mental wellness. You might have read the Lancet report. It was splashed in the newspapers today. In the world today, we have about 1 billion obese people. In India alone, above 19 years, we have close to 70 million people who are obese. Below 19 years age, we have nearly 12.5 million kids who are obese. The incidence of non-communicable illnesses is growing. Cardiovascular diseases, blood pressure, diabetes, these have reached the epidemic levels. And what are we going to do to that? We will have growing a society which is becoming older, and we will have even younger people suffering from lifestyle illnesses. There is something very serious that we need to do here. I often find when I enter a building, the first thing I see is a lift. You really have to search for the staircase. It will be behind some door. On the other hand, you should be putting the staircase right in the beginning so that everybody uses the staircase. We need to integrate small period physical activities in our life so that throughout the day you are physically active and you remain physically healthy and fit. Stress is another major problem that is facing us, especially in educational institutions. Students facing all kinds of stresses. Recently, UGC took a decision that all universities must appoint an ombudsperson. All universities must have student grievance redressal mechanisms so that any of the problems students may have are addressed. And because of our lifestyle changes, we have become so self-centered today, we don't communicate with each other anymore. Although we are communicating with everybody using our devices. Today, we have become curiosity-driven, pleasure-seeking human animals. And this is where both science and technology and values have to come together to address these issues, to change our lifestyle. Technologies will continue to come. You cannot stop them. People are so much afraid of AI because AI will replace jobs. But somebody said, AI will not replace you. It is people who can use AI who will replace you. Right? So technologies will keep coming, but we should learn to navigate through these technologies which are coming into our lives and be focused on leading a life which is healthy, both physically and also mentally. And for this to happen, As I said, we need to build a society which is cooperative in each other, which helps each other, and that is the only way we can create a healthy life. Friends, I would like to, before I conclude, one of the societal values that we must promote is the inclusive development, reducing inequalities in the society. And to mitigate many of the problems that we have, you have the ability, you have the intellectual capabilities to come up with solutions. For example, if you want to mitigate the climate change and the environmental damage that is happening, we must move from the conventional chemical processes to green chemistry. We must move from conventional manufacturing processes to green manufacturing. Our ultimate goal, keeping the convergence of knowledge, technology, and values as our central focus, our ultimate goal should be to realize sustainable well-being of humans, not merely the growth of material consumption. That used to be a Western concept. More material consumption means more developed. But now, even in the West also, they are looking at the Indian values of reusing, reducing, recycling. These are all Indian values, Indian practices. I used to see my mother, she never threw off her sari, old sari. She will use that to make something else, maybe a pillow or maybe something else. And these are examples that are there in our everyday life. So friends, I would like to conclude here, again reiterating that our ultimate goal should be sustainable human well-being, not merely growth of material consumption. And with the kind of the intellectual resources, young people and experienced professors, and collaboration with industry, I'm sure we should be able to find solutions to many of these challenges that we are facing as a human society, and contribute to building a healthy and peaceful human society. So with those comments, I would like to conclude here, and I would like to thank Professor Rao for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you. Thank you.